right, welcome back everybody to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something you guys have been asking for like a lot. How to avoid those, common English mistakes that can kind of make you, cringe a little.
Oh, yeah.
We've got this really detailed script that was, I think, originally planned as like a whole podcast episode.
Okay.
All about this. So grammar stuff, tricky vocab, pronunciation, like all that fun stuff.
Sounds good.
Even some, cultural things that, could trip you up.
Yeah.
Ready to polish your English and sound, I don't know, just more confident a bit.
Let's do it.
Let's dive in.
You know what's kind of cool about this script is that we're basically looking at how somebody else tried to teach about common mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a deep dive into a deep dive, kind of meta.
I love that. So they start off, pretty strong, hitting us with a grammar. They talk about subject-verb agreement, which, to be honest, can be a real pain. I mean, we all know it's like she doesn't like coffee. Not she don't like coffee, but why is it so hard for English learners?
Well, think about it. A lot of languages, their verb forms just kind of stay the same no matter who you're talking about.
Right.
But English just loves to throw in these little changes, especially when you've got singular versus plural.
Yeah.
That little S at the end of a verb when you've got a third person singular subject.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it can mess anyone up. It's like a tiny little landmine in your sentence.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And they're those sentences where it's like time travel, gone wrong, mixing up your past and present tenses.
Tenses.
They give this example I have seen him yesterday. I could hear my English teacher cringing even now.
Right. It's like shoving square pegs into round holes.
Yeah.
That tense consistency, it's all about painting a clear picture of whence it happened. Mm-hmm. Making a timeline with your words. And trust me, that's tricky, even for native speakers sometimes.
Speaking of tricky, okay, confession time. I still sometimes mix up your and your. Especially when I'm in a rush.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any secret trick to remembering this for good?
Well, think about contractions.
Okay.
Your is just a short way of saying you are, right? So if you can swap out you are in your sentence and it still makes sense, you're golden. Otherwise, it's got to be your, showing that something belongs to someone.
Oh.
Possession,
That's a great tip. I'm writing that one down. Okay, let's move on to vocabulary, which honestly I think can be even trickier than grammar. This script, they dive into that whole make versus do thing. Honestly, I still get this wrong sometimes, especially when I'm tired. Any easy way to remember which is which?
There is. Think about it like this. You make something new, like a cake or a plan, but you do an activity or a task, like your homework or the dishes.
Okay.
So I need to make a cake. Perfect. But I need to do my homework is the way to go.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, I'm definitely using that. The script also talks about how, using very all the time makes your English sound, kind of boring.
Yeah.
Instead of very hot, you could say boiling.
Much better.
Way more powerful, right? But I get stuck in those ruts sometimes. Any tips for finding, more interesting ways to say stuff?
What's interesting is that vocabulary isn't just about knowing a ton of words.
Right.
It's about using the right word at the right time. And the best way to get good at that is to, pay attention to how language is used in context.
Okay. Yeah.
When you're reading a book or watching a movie, see how the author or the screenwriter, uses words to create a picture or make you feel something or build suspense.
Mm-hmm.
And then try those same techniques in your own speaking and writing.
Right.
It's like adding spices to your food, a little bit goes a long way.
That's such a good way to think about it. Language as spices, adding that extra, depth and flavor.
Right.
Speaking of flavor, how about we throw in some say versus tell?
Yeah.
I know the rule. You tell someone something, but you say something to someone.
Right.
But sometimes it's just, I don't know, it gets jumbled in my head.
I hear you. These two words are notorious for, tripping up even advanced learners. It's all about those pesky prepositions.
Yeah.
One way to remember is to focus on whether the verb needs an indirect object, right? When you tell someone something, you're talking directly to them, tell me, tell him, tell her. But when you say something, it's more general, throwing a word out there without a specific target.
Okay.
No direct object needed.
Right. Just putting it out into the universe.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. You're shining spotlight on them when you tell them something.
Exactly.
All right, enough grammar for now. How about we tackle pronunciation?
Ooh.
English spelling and pronunciation sometimes feels like it was designed to just, totally confuse people.
You're telling me this Script brings up those silent letters like the K in night, which is like a secret code.
Oh, yeah.
You have to crack the code to say the word right. And let's be real, it's not exactly intuitive.
No, it's like, why even have the K if you're not going to say it? I guess that's part of what makes English so interesting. It's got such a long history. It's full of these weird little leftovers from the past.
Absolutely.
Speaking of weird little things, what about word stress?
Yeah.
The script mentions how where you put the emphasis in a word can completely change what it means. Can you give us an example of that?
Of course. Think of the word present. If you stress the first part, sent, it's a noun, right? Means a gift.
Right.
But if you stress the second syllable, present, it becomes a verb, meaning to give something or to show something. Same word, totally different meanings.
Whoa, that's wild. It's like a secret language inside the language. You know, I've always had trouble with knowing where to put the stress in a word. Mm-hmm. Is there like a trick to figuring that out?
Well, one tip is to really listen to native speakers and pay attention to which syllable they emphasize.
Okay.
You can also use those online dictionaries that have audio pronunciations. Those are really helpful. And don't be afraid to practice out loud. The more you experiment with word stress, the easier it gets.
Yeah, practice makes perfect. Speaking of practice, the script suggests working with minimal pairs. Those words that are like almost the same, but just one sound is different, like ship and sheep.
Yes.
Do you think that's helpful for people learning English?
Absolutely. Minimal pairs are like a workout for your ears and your tongue. They help you get those tiny differences in pronunciation that can totally change the meaning. It's like training your ears to be detectives.
I love that. Little sound detectives.
Exactly. They help you crack the code.
Okay, that's enough sounds for now. Let's shift gears to the visual side of things. The script takes us into the sometimes hilarious world of punctuation.
Oh, I love punctuation.
Right, like that classic example, let's eat grandma. A comma can seriously save a life.
You're so right. Punctuation isn't just about rules, you know.
Right.
It's about being clear and making sure people understand what you mean. It's like you're guiding the reader through your thoughts and preventing them from getting the wrong idea, which can sometimes be, well, disastrous.
Oh, it reminds me of this time I sent an email to my boss.
Yeah.
And I used way too many exclamation points.
Oh, no.
I was just trying to sound enthusiastic, but I probably just looked unprofessional.
We've all been there. It's a tough balance, you know, showing emotion, but also keeping it professional.
Yeah.
Think of exclamation points like sprinkles on a cupcake. A few can be nice, but too many, and it's just overkill.
That's a good analogy. Okay, back to the script. They also talk about the it's versus its confusion. I think even native speakers get that wrong sometimes. Any tips for keeping those straight?
Here's a simple trick. It's is always a shortened version of it is or it has, right? So if you can swap out it is or it has and the sentence still makes sense, then it's is your winner. If not, it's the possessive form like his or hers.
That's a really good tip. I'm definitely going to remember that one. The script also recommends getting someone else to proofread your writing. Do you think that's important even for people who are like pretty confident in their English?
100%. Having a fresh pair of eyes can catch mistakes that we might miss, even if we've read something over and over. It's like having your own personal editor who can help you make your writing really shine.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, here's where things get really interesting. Cultural mistakes.
Ooh, yes.
This script dives into all the challenges of trying to understand social norms in different cultures, which can be tricky even for people who have traveled a lot.
It really is. It's like you have to learn all these unwritten rules, and they can be totally different depending on where you are in the world.
For sure. The script uses the example of the idiom break a leg, which, if you think about it literally, sounds kind of terrifying.
Totally. Imagine saying that to someone who doesn't know what it means.
Oh, yeah.
It's the perfect example of how idioms can be tough for English learners, even funny sometimes.
Yeah. It's amazing how a phrase can mean such different things in different parts of the world. But the script also talks about like understanding how formal you need to be, like knowing when it's okay to say, hey, what's up? And when you should probably use something, I don't know, more professional. Any advice on like how to figure that out?
Well, one thing you can do is just watch how native speakers act in different situations. Pay attention to their tone, their body language, the words they choose. You'll notice that people tend to be more formal at work or when they're talking to, like, their boss.
Yeah, I've even noticed that how people say hello to each other can be totally different.
Right.
Like in some cultures, a handshake is expected, but somewhere else it might be like a bow or something.
Exactly. These little cultural differences, they can be hard to spot, but they're super important. It's the difference between things going smoothly or like feeling awkward. So just be observant, be respectful, and, be ready to learn.
Speaking of learning, the script makes a good point. Just knowing about these common mistakes can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Like having a checklist in your head to avoid those, embarrassing moments.
For sure.
But how do we go beyond just knowing about them and actually start using these tips?
Practice, practice, practice. The more you use English in real life, the more comfortable you'll get and the more confident you'll feel. And don't be afraid to mess up.
Yeah.
Everybody makes mistakes, even native speakers. The important thing is to learn from them and keep getting better.
I love that. It's about enjoying the journey and being proud of yourself every step of the way. This deep dive has been really eye-opening. It's not just about avoiding mistakes. It's like you gain a whole new appreciation for how cool and complex English is.
What's really fascinating is that language isn't just a tool, right? It's a reflection of culture and history and how creative humans can be. The more you explore the little details of English, the more you learn about the world and your place in it.
So for anyone out there feeling a bit intimidated by English, remember, small steps lead to big results. Every time you use a new word correctly, every time you nail a tricky pronunciation, you're getting closer to fluency.
And as you go on your language journey, remember, confidence is key. The more you believe in yourself, the more you believe in your ability to communicate, the more natural and fun it becomes. So embrace those challenges, celebrate those wins, and never stop exploring the awesome world of English.
That's it for this deep dive, everyone. See you next time.